And welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nation Owano. I'm joined in studio again for the second time with John Makali. Welcome to studio, John. You are here to to help us make sense of the transfer gossip that has been going on at the moment. So what do you make of what has been going on so far?
First of all, many thanks for having me. I'm humbled to be back on air.
It's always good having you on the show.
Thanks. It's good. I see you are doing very well during this actually a very tough moment of this pandemic. But apparently, there's very little to offer in terms of sporting activities. But we're gonna try our best and see if we can fix things. But again, in this context. I think in terms of sporting, we're having very little, but we're having transfer rumors that are trying to happen across Europe. And apparently, I see clubs are trying to figure out which players can come in, but we have that problem of financial issues. So I don't think if it's really going to happen, because you'll see that some players, they're running out of their contracts. Some are having like 1 year remaining on their contracts. But I think I'm going to expect a lot of movements in Europe. So many players, so many teams are going to try and fix their teams, basing on the fact that most teams want to participate in the top league, the UEFA Europa League, and the Champions League.
Yeah. So at top of the transfer conversation, there's the move by a couple of players which you're going to be looking at. There's a move by Aubameyang, who has been linked to Chelsea, Manchester City and Barcelona. What do you make of that? Do you think that transfer is actually going to happen?
Apparently, Aubameyang is having like a year remaining on his contract, and I think it's actually his last option, trying to figure out where he'll go, because he's not winning titles. He thought like coming to Arsenal he'll maybe clinch some titles, but it's not happening. But we've seen most players from Arsenal joining, going to the other side, Manchester United. We saw Alexis Sanchez, there was the like of Robin Van Persie, and people are saying like you can't play for Arsenal and again you go and play for your rivals. So I think Aubameyang could probably go to that's according to my perspective. He might go to Barcelona or Real Madrid, but I don't see him as a good Barcelona player, because he doesn't play that kind of football that Barcelona need. So for me, if he goes to Real Madrid, he might do very well, but the problem here will be his age. Auba is at his late early 30s, I think, 30. and getting to that age, it means that you need to play somewhere maybe in the MLS or the Chinese league. But for him, he would love to remain in Europe. So that means he'll have to stick in the Premier League, or else it's going to be tough for him, because he's not winning titles. And actually, this is his last chance. If he makes that worst move, then I don't think if Auba will ever win any title. You saw him back at BVB. He tried his best. He was at his best. Tried in the African Cup, but he's not winning at all. So he needs to make a good move this time round.
Okay. Yeah. So given the fact that Messi is also in his late time in his career, do you think Aubameyang is the player that Barcelona actually need at this point in time?
Just as I said, I don't see Aubameyang as a good Barcelona player, because you need to be very good in terms of passing, in terms of taking set piece. He doesn't do that mostly at Arsenal. But having a player to replace Messi, you need a player who is fighting for the Ballon d'Or. The likes of Sadio Mane, they tried to bring in Coutinho, but it wasn't working. I think the problem with Barcelona trying to figure out someone who can replace Lionel Messi is try to strengthen their midfield. Since the departure of the likes of Xavi and Andres Iniesta, it has been very tough up front for them. They've tried to bring in Coutinho, they brought in Antonio Griezmann, but they're not at their best as they used to be. So for them, it's going to be tough to replace Messi. But I think actually, he's gonna stay at Barcelona. Yeah, he'll retire there.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're still on the Barcelona topic, Luis Suarez also linked to a move to River Plate. He's on his way out of Barcelona.
Yeah.
So what do you make of that move? Do you think it's time for him to now exit the stage that he's been part of for the longest time?
Since Antonio Griezmann came in, I think Luis Suarez his age is, I think, in early 30s, and it won't be. He has stayed there for 6 years. He's done very well. I think it's time for him to leave. He has won the titles he wanted, and maybe for me, if he goes back to where he started from, it will be good, because apparently he needs to give other young players time to also do their best at Barcelona, because it's every player's dream to actually play for Barcelona or Real Madrid, the big teams in Spain. So for me, I think Luis Suarez should just leave Barcelona, because he's not going to have that play time. Most players want to be on the field, even at their peak of their career. Yeah.
The other biggest move, that is Sadio Mane. There's a lot of conversation on whether he should leave Liverpool and join Barcelona.
The African Player of the Year, I think, apparently is rated at 150 million euros. It's a lot of money actually to get a team in England that can buy him. Maybe if you talk of Manchester United, the big teams that, and maybe Newcastle, apparently they have one of the
by the transfer, the ownership acquisition that was happening in the past few days.
So you can have such teams that actually have a lot of money, but again, if you look at Sadio, his dream has always been to play for Real Madrid. So and Zidane has always wanted to sign him, even in the past. So he might land a deal with Real Madrid, given that they're trying to get someone who will replace Cristiano Ronaldo, because they've tried Luka Jovic, it's not working. They've tried Eden Hazard, he's been prone to injuries. So replacing Cristiano Ronaldo has been a problem, but getting Sadio Mane, I think he'll be the best replacement, and he's going to shine there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
because in terms even of scoring goals, he's a bit sharp up front, and he can play from whichever wing.
Yeah. So at the moment he has 20. Is it 20? Yeah. He has 14. Sorry, he has 14 goals in the English Premier League right now as we're talking. That's Sadio Mane.
Yeah.
So the other topic is the other player that has been linked to a major move to English Premier League is Noah, who is a 16-year-old and has been linked to a move to Arsenal. Do you think Arsenal need a young player of that caliber to improve their squad as it is right now?
First of all, I'm not an Arsenal fan. Let's get things right. I'm just
which is quite confusing. You know, when you walked in, I was like, okay, today is going to be a really tough show, because an Arsenal fan is in studio today.
Today I'm a Chelsea fan, but apparently if you look at Arsenal during the times of Arsene Wenger, I think they actually used to nurture players and sell them. It was actually a business for them. They were not even up for titles. And Mikel Arteta, being a player who played under Wenger, I think he's trying to follow suit. So trying to bring in such kind of players, it's not going to, if he wants to nurture players and then sell them to make money, because apparently Arsenal, they don't have money, so they have to sell in order to even buy players. So like we talked about Auba, they can't buy a player apparently, they have to sell to get that money. So bringing in such kind of players, he was very superb in the under-17 UEFA. He scored even a goal against, I think it was Rangers, and the penalty shootout. So he's a good player, and coming to England, he wants to get that opportunity to play in the Premier League, but Mikel Arteta may give him an opportunity to participate in the FA Cup and maybe grow from there. Yeah.
Okay. So sticking to money matters, do you think with the whole coronavirus pandemic going on around in the world, do you think teams have that much money to spend? Because you've mentioned we know the likes of Sadio Mane cost a lot of money to probably make that transfer happen. Do you think teams are in a position right now to actually actualize the transfers?
Just the other day, I heard Ole Gunnar Solskjaer say that it's only Manchester United who have the money to make these big transfers, which is a bit true. Manchester United have money, and I think their owner also, though. Let me hope they won't find themselves in a situation like Manchester City, whereby they were banned by UEFA. But what I'm trying to say, that the big teams have money to purchase players, but again, you'll see that most teams are trying to give their players pay cuts, so that at least they can, during this pandemic, they're not making money through the fans coming to the field and selling their outfits out there. So it's going to be very tough in terms of buying expensive players like Sadio Mane and the likes of Aubameyang for these small teams. So it's going to be a transfer that we are going to expect little from these small teams. Actually, the likes of Chelsea, I don't think if they're going to bring more any other player, because maybe one or two, because already Ziyech is on his way. Manchester brought in Bruno Fernandes. They've been doing pretty well, so they might think that no, we have Bruno, we have Igalo, we've been doing great, and we have to release the likes of Pogba. So they just stick to maybe two players or one.
Okay, speaking of Pogba, do you think he's going to be in the English Premier League this coming season? There's been the whole transfer rumor going around about him. Do you think he's still going to be or in the Premier League, or he's going to make a move out of the Premier League?
Apparently, I think he's going to make a move, most likely, like 60%, I think he's going to make a move to Real Madrid, because he's not been having a good time at Manchester United. He's become injury prone, and he's not getting the time to play and all. So I think if he gets to Real Madrid, he'll get the opportunity that he actually needs. And I had his agent, he was saying that he actually has 1 year left on his contract, and Manchester United don't want to talk about it. So the best thing is for Pogba to start pushing for that move. And if Pogba starts pushing for the move, it means even his price will go down. And that means Real Madrid may acquire his services.
Okay. So finally, there's the whole conversation finally as we finish. There's the whole conversation on the fate of the Premier League, not only the Premier League, other leagues in the sporting sphere, in terms of what should be the way forward. Because you understand, it's usually based on timings.
Yeah.
So as far as coronavirus is concerned, the timings, the scheduled dates of the matches has already passed, which has put the completion of the major leagues in limbo. So given where the leagues are right now, would you suggest for the leagues to be suspended as they are, or they should be cancelled so that we start another league altogether?
That's actually a tough question, and actually even UEFA, they are trying to have a meeting. The boss is trying to have a meeting and discuss the way forward, because apparently Netherlands have cancelled their league. England, they wanted to play under closed doors, but I don't think it's going to happen, because during there's a lot to do apart from football during this horrible moment. So if we go that way of cancelling league, that means next season we'll have a problem in terms of playing teams to qualify in the UEFA Champions League, teams to qualify in the Europa. Which criteria are we going to use? When you look at Article 4 of the UEFA, it says that teams are supposed to qualify for the UEFA Europa League and the Champions League on sporting merit. So if we're not having that sporting activity, so which criteria are we going to use in order to get those teams? But again, they're saying that they look at 5 seasons before which teams have been participating in the league, in the competition, and they'll have to take them. That means you might have Manchester City, you're going to have Manchester United, you're going to have Arsenal, and Liverpool in the English Premier League. Chelsea won't qualify, Spurs won't qualify, Leicester City won't qualify. So maybe if they decide, that would be the way forward. But I think the best way is actually to cancel the league.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now if they give them on merit of the first 5 teams based on their performance
The past seasons of one.
What now happens to the teams that are supposed to be relegated? That's also an interesting dynamic that probably people will be interested to understand.
It's going to be tough. I think now, in terms of qualification to play in the UEFA, they'll use that criteria, but the other teams which are on the relegation zone, they'll just look at the matches of which they've played at the moment. Okay.
Thank you so much, John.
It has been. I'm humbled.
Thank you so much for joining us. So probably once the league resumes, where do you see your team ending up in? Do you still believe you're going to end in top
Chelsea.
5? Yeah, Chelsea.
We're not going to win any title, but I'm pretty sure we're going to finish among the top 4.
Okay.
Manchester United will be 6th. Somewhere there.
Okay. We'll be following up. I'll hold you to task with this. Like, I'll show you this video later on once probably the match is resumed.
It's a game of wait and see.
Thank you so much for joining us in studio. Now, on Money Ref today, we are going to be looking at some of the most expensive or the most valuable fixtures that have been played in the English Premier League. Now, it is estimated that the following fixtures amassed a lot of money in the English Premier League. The first fixture that is estimated to be worth a total of 1.53 billion pounds is Liverpool versus Manchester City. In that particular game, Liverpool got a total of 825 million pounds, and then Man City was able to amass a total of 705 million pounds. The other expensive fixture that you need to probably know or understand is the fixture that was between Liverpool versus Tottenham Hotspurs, which amassed a total of 1.5 billion pounds. The other fixture is Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspurs, and then which amassed a total of 1.34 billion pounds. The other one is Manchester City versus Chelsea. That is Makali's favorite team, amassed a total of 1.34 billion pounds, and then Liverpool versus Manchester United, which was 1.31 billion pounds. Now, on the game profile this week, we take a quick look into interesting aspects that you did not know about a major sport. Just every week we do a random selection of a sporting activity that you probably like. This week you're going to be shedding our spotlight on the game of rugby. Now, these are the interesting facts that you might not have known about rugby. The first rugby balls were plum-shaped because they were made of pig bladders. Did you ever know that the rugby ball was first of all made out of pig bladders? Now you know. The other second fact that you need to know is that the highest number of points scored during the Rugby World Cup was 162 in 1995 Japan, when Japan lost to New Zealand 145-17. That's a really high score, 162. And then the other interesting fact you need to know is that the same whistle has been used to start the game up at every Rugby World Cup. The rugby is known as the Gil Evans whistle and is named after Gil Evans, who refereed the game between New Zealand and England in 1905. Same whistle, different World Cups over the years. And then originally no points were awarded for a try. And then finally, the first international rugby match took place between Scotland and England in 1871. And the first player to score an international rugby goal was William Cross. Now, those are some of the interesting facts that you did not know about rugby. That's all the time that we had today on Metropole Sports Center. I would like to send a special shout out to some of our ardent fans who keep on watching the show. Special shout out to Sam, June, Brian, who've been following on the show on social media and in all our digital platforms. Well, hope you have a sporty weekend. See you next week, same place, same time.